In the spring of 1922, in a remote corner of Bavaria, Germany, a gruesome discovery shook an entire nation. On an isolated farmstead called Hinterkaifeck, 6 people were found brutally murdered. But this was not an ordinary crime scene. In the days following the massacre, eerie details emerged. Footprints in the snow leading to the farm but never leaving. Unexplained noises, missing keys, and most disturbingly, clear signs that the killer, or killers, had stayed on the property for days, eating the family's food and tending their animals while the victims lay dead only meters away. This case has haunted Germany for more than a century. It is a crime scene frozen in time, dripping with unanswered questions and macabre details that rival the most terrifying crime stories ever told. This is the chilling mystery of the Hinterkaifeck murders. Hinterkaifeck was a small farmstead located between the Bavarian towns of Ingolstadt and Schrobenhausen, about an hour north of Munich. The farm was remote, cut off from the nearest village by forests and fields. The family who lived there, Andreas and Cecilia Gruber, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, and Victoria's 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph, were not well liked by their neighbors. Andreas, in particular, was known as harsh, stubborn, and even abusive. Dark rumors circulated about an incestuous relationship between Andreas and his daughter Victoria, which cast a shadow over the household. Living with them was the family's maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only recently been hired. She had just arrived on the farm the very day she was murdered. None of them could have known that Hinterkaifeck was about to become the site of one of the most infamous crimes in German history. In the days leading up to the killings, odd events unsettled the Grubers. Andreas Gruber told neighbors that he had discovered strange footprints in the snow. They led from the nearby forest straight to the farm, but none returned. Inside the house, he noticed keys going missing and strange noises coming from the attic at night. The family was uneasy, but they stayed put. These warnings now seem like harbingers of the horror to come. Someone was watching Hinterkaifeck. Perhaps someone had already moved into the shadows of the attic. On the night of March 31st, the killers struck. One by one, family members were lured into the barn. It is believed that Andreas, Cecilia, the grandmother, Victoria, and young Cecilia were attacked there, one after another, likely with a mattock, a type of heavy pickaxe. Each died from horrific head injuries, but evidence showed that young Cecilia, only 7 years old, may have survived the initial blow. Her hands were torn and bloodied, as if she had ripped out clumps of her own hair in terror before dying. Inside the farmhouse, little Joseph was killed in his crib, and Maria the maid was murdered in her room. 6 lives, wiped out in a single night of unimaginable violence. Days passed, and neighbors began to notice that no one had seen the Gruber family. Victoria's daughter failed to appear at school. The family missed church services. Smoke still rose from the chimney, but the farm remained eerily silent. On April 4th, neighbors finally investigated. What they found was a nightmare. Bodies stacked in the barn, partially covered with hay. Inside the house, Joseph and the maid lay dead. But the strangest detail was this: the farm was not abandoned. Livestock had been fed. Meals had been cooked. The fireplace was warm. Someone had been living there after the murders. The case quickly drew massive attention across Germany. Hundreds of investigators, soldiers, and even psychics tried to solve it. But despite interviews with over 100 suspects, the case remained unsolved. The killer, or killers, had left almost nothing behind. The mattock, believed to be the murder weapon, was found hidden on the farm. But there were no fingerprints, no clear motive, and no witnesses. Over the years, countless theories have emerged. 1. The neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. A nearby farmer, Lorenz had a complicated relationship with Victoria. Some say he was romantically involved with her, and possibly the father of Josef. He was among the first to discover the bodies, and acted strangely at the crime scene. Some believed he knew too much. Others suspected he may have killed out of jealousy or rage, but nothing was proven. 2. The bandits' theory. Some suggested robbers had killed the family, but money and valuables were left untouched. This was not a simple burglary gone wrong. 3. Family secrets. Dark rumors swirled about Andreas and Victoria's relationship. Could the murders have been the result of a family feud or revenge for long-held grudges? 4. A stranger in the attic. The strangest theory suggests that someone had secretly lived in the attic for weeks before the murders, waiting for the right moment to strike. The footsteps in the snow, the missing keys, the strange noises, all point to a stalker who had already invaded their lives. What makes the Hinterkaifeck murders so terrifying are the unsettling details. The killer took time to cover the bodies with hay and sheets, as if concealing their crime. Animals were fed and stalls were cleaned. Fresh meals were cooked. Smoke rose from the chimney. This was not a killer who vanished into the night. Whoever it was, they stayed. They lived on the farm, surrounded by the corpses of their victims. And then, without a trace, they disappeared. The Hinterkaifeck murders horrified the nation. The farm was eventually demolished, but the case never faded from public memory. Generations later, it still captures the imagination of true crime researchers, spawning books, documentaries, and countless theories. Despite advances in forensic science, the case remains unsolved. In 2007, German police re-examined the files and claimed they had identified a prime suspect, but out of respect for surviving relatives, they never revealed the name. The truth, it seems, will remain buried forever. The Hinterkaifeck murders are more than just a crime story. They are a haunting reminder of how violence can lurk in the most ordinary of places. A lonely farm, a family with secrets, footsteps in the snow leading only one way. Even now, more than a century later, the silence of Hinterkaifeck echoes with unanswered questions. Who crept across the fields that winter? Who hid in the attic, watching the family below? And why did they stay, calmly feeding animals and stoking fires, while 6 lives lay extinguished only a few feet away? Perhaps the most chilling thought of all is this: the killer may have walked back into the night, blending into the quiet Bavarian countryside, never to be caught, leaving only terror and mystery behind. And if stories like this send a chill down your spine, make sure to follow for more dark mysteries that the world has never solved.